Welcome to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast, where our goal is to connect listeners to the great outdoors, with hosts Brian Hoffmeyer and Ben Brandell.
I'm host Ben Brandell, owner of Meant to Be Outdoors, instructor of outdoor skills, and passionate about personal growth.
I'm host Brian Hoffmeyer, wildlife biologist and avid outdoorsman. Welcome back to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast. It is time for a Myth Monday episode. I am your host, Brian, with my co-host, Ben Brandell. And today we're going to be talking a little deer hunting. It is deer season. We're going to be talking kind of about a deer myth. This one, I'm not going to say highly controversial, but you really have two camps with this one, and I've been in both of them throughout my life. We're talking about whether you pee when you're deer hunting. Can you do it? Should you hold it? Should you go in a bottle? And I have been on both sides of this throughout my life. Can't wait to share which one I do now, and maybe some science to back that up.
There's also a group of guys that take it a step further and maybe actually pee in and around the area that they're hunting on purpose for hunting reasons. And we'll have to talk that out and see what works, what doesn't. Yes,
but before we get into our woodlands bathroom habits, let's share something that we're thankful for. You know, this week, on two different occasions, I've had somebody reach out and somebody in person come up to me and share that they've been listening and even share what they learned, and I'm so thankful for that. You know, friends, family, it may not be strangers, but even sometimes when we meet strangers and we share that we have a podcast and they just show this interest, they want to write it down. Ooh, what's the name? How do you spell it? I appreciate that so much. You know, we aren't eloquent, we aren't well spoken, but just because people care, they're willing to give us a shot, and I'm very thankful for that. I'm thankful for the growing audience, and if you are a listener, help us grow, share with some other people. So thank you to everybody, not only that listens, but especially those that are willing to share that they're listening and share what they've learned.
I'm thankful for people that instill wisdom in us. You know, there's been a lot of people that have just shared, helped, and without them, we wouldn't even have a podcast. So just, again, really thankful for people that have already experienced things that we haven't yet been able to share that information.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're going down this kind of an unknown trail. We don't know where it leads, or definitely not where it ends. But we keep coming to these intersections, and there's people there to encourage and guide us and provide some of that wisdom. And God just keeps sending people into our path for that, and we're really thankful for that, because there's days we need it, and so we're thankful for what God is doing and how people are allowing themselves to be used by God.
Yeah, and there are people that are catching me off guard, like people that I wouldn't even think God had sent, you know. So, yeah, again, really thankful that to have those people.
All right. You ready to jump into this one?
Let's jump.
So, and you know, as far as Myth Mondays go, this is probably the one we've done that gets most into the opinion world. Mm-hmm. This one really could just be opinion.
Right.
I'm going to share some science to try to make it.
Well, you're gonna share science to help with your viewpoint.
Right.
Right. Because that's why you would choose this side, because you're saying you have the knowledge that's going to back and support.
All right. So let's go back several years. When I was in college bow hunting, I would drive to where I was hunting, and I would set the entire day. I would get there before the sun came up, and I would stay in that tree stand until the sun went down, and I loved it. I loved how many deer I got to see, and it's hard to argue with that. If you want to harvest a deer, especially a mature buck, the more time you spend out there, the better your odds are, right? Your odds go up more and more, and it's actually proven that the average number of sets, so the average number of times hunting before somebody harvests their target animal, is 11 for an archery hunter. So 11 times as an archery hunter before you harvest your target animal. And so sometimes you've got less than that, and sometimes you have double or more than that. So that can be a lot of times in the woods. So the more time you spend out there, the better your odds are. But you're not going to sit in a tree stand all day long and not use a restroom.
Right.
You're going to take water, sometimes snacks.
Nature calls.
Nature calls. So you have to go. Well, during that time, I was just under this impression, you know, I was really getting into that scent control thing, really trying to control my scent, because if you want to harvest a mature whitetail, if they smell you, it's over. Even if they smell you and you don't know it and you're spending more and more days out there, they've already smelled you. They're out of the area because you've blown it out. They know there is a predator there now and making that area their habit. So they're not going to come spend time there. So really taking the scent control thing serious. Well, of course, urine's going to smell, right? And so I just kind of made this preconceived notion on my own that I'm not going to put this scent of my urine out because I don't want to mess up this area. And it's really kind of gross because you end the day and you've got this backpack with bottles of urine in it. And as gross as that sounds, there are a lot of hunters that do that. And a lot of them are very serious in the camp of, I'm not putting my smell out there. They're going to know it's a human. They're going to run away. I'm going to go use the bathroom in this bottle. Well, when I started working in the hunting industry after college, talking with peers, working with biologists with a lot more education and experience than myself, then diving into research, I learned that it really is probably, can't say with certainty, but it really probably is okay to use the bathroom to urinate while deer hunting. And so I changed my habit and I observed no changes in the amount of deer I was seeing.
Let me clarify to those that may not hunt that often or maybe haven't hunted at all. When he's talking about urinating in the wilderness, right? We're talking about majority of the time, people are going to be in a stand, a deer stand that's off the ground,
20 feet
15 to 20 feet. And so when nature calls, you have to make the decision, am I going down and using the bathroom? But then you also have the decision that people are making today of, well, do I just do it from the top of this tree stand? Right. So when you have to use the restroom when you're going to go, some people, like Brian was just saying, could stay in their tree stand and they could go in a bottle.
Going up and down, you can't do that perfectly quiet.
No, it is loud. Well, let's just say you could do it quiet. There's still a lot of movement. I mean, you are completely climbing up an exposed ladder up and down. That's against your tree.
Well, then you even go down the road of different types of tree stands because if you're in a climbing stand,
that's a lot of noise.
You're making some noise when you go up and down that tree.
Yeah, a climbing stand doesn't have a ladder. You are using the actual tree stand you're standing in to climb up the tree with, top and bottom. So just what we're talking about is the smell of urine, of humans' urine, in the area that you're hunting. Whether you got down and went, or you stood from the top of this tree stand and let it go.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely. And so I changed my habit, and I didn't see any difference. As a matter of fact, there were times that after I used the restroom out of the tree stand, younger bucks would actually come up and stick their nose in it. And so now I'm thinking, well, they definitely didn't run away. But then you still have questions. Well, what about a mature buck? What about those wiser animals that have been out learning all the threats? And I'll shout out Adam Keith with Land and Legacy. He was like, well, haven't you ever made a mock scrape with your urine? And I was like, well, no. And then so we made these scrape lines, and a scrape is actually right now, for us, this area, this middle to end of October is peak scrape time. And what happens, they'll usually find a branch and they have glands around their head, and they will rub their scent glands on this branch. They call it a licking branch, and they'll lick all over it, leave their scent, but on the ground, and they'll scrape away all the leaf litter, any duff, and you'll have this, 2 by 3 foot circle that's just down to the bare ground. And what they do, they urinate and they poop in it, and that is their communication. The scent is a huge communication in the deer world. So this time of year, you'll find scrapes up and down the edges of roadways or fields, usually edged areas. If you find this bare circle on the ground, you'll usually see a low-hanging limb right above it. So we're making imitation ones of those to try to get bucks using that area, drawing them in for curiosity. We would put trail cameras on them, and when you make one, usually within 24 hours, there are bucks coming and checking that out. They want to know what that urine smell is that's there. Who's this new person in my territory? They're going to mark it to let you know, if you're another buck, that, hey, this is me. This is my spot. So it does work.
When you guys are doing that, though, you aren't using animal urine from the store. You're talking about making a scrape by using human
Correct.
urine.
Our own urine.
Our own urine. Yep.
Yep. Absolutely. So now my wheels are really turning, and I'm really getting away from this. Really kind of having this almost relief, like this monkey shed off my back of, I don't have to sit here and hold it till I just can't bear it anymore, and then go in a bottle. Because it just seemed crazy. I was almost laughing that I did it for so long, because now I could just go out of my stand, and it was a relief. But then talking to other people, there's this whole other camp of, you're crazy. You're a human. You smell like a human. That is human pee. They know it, especially mature bucks. They're not going to come around. You're not going to harvest mature bucks if you've done that. And then my side of that is, well, I've filmed mature bucks and mature does being harvested around human-scented, shouldn't say human-scented, because even when you're making a mock scrape, you don't want to leave your scent. You should be kind of in scent-free attire with rubber boots on, trying not to actually step in it. You don't want to actually walk in it, but leaving human urine in it.
So what you're saying then is human urine doesn't leave behind human scent.
Right.
So that's what we're sharing. That's what you're sharing right now.
So let's really talk about urine, because everybody knows a little bit about urine. We know what pee is. You'll hear a lot of people say, well, pee is sterile. So what is actually in urine? Well, urine for all animals, 95% of it, I shouldn't say all animals. Let's talk all mammals, because when you get into birds and reptiles, you've got your urine and feces mixing together, making urea, and that's a whole different story. Let's talk mammals.
Mammals, yes.
All mammal urine is 95% of water. 95%. Then you've got these same components in all mammal urine. You've got ammonia, urea, sodium, chloride, potassium, and creatinine. That's in all mammal pee, right? What is different, and is different for every single person, no matter how similar they are, they could be identical twins, their urine is going to be different with the pheromones and hormones that are in there. And that's why deer communicate so differently. But deer are not just genetically predisposed to know what urine is what. They have to learn that. Mm-hmm. They have to learn that. So if you are wearing sneakers that your dog slept on and that you smell like human on, and you're stepping in this scrape, and then so they're now associating human smell with this urine, they can connect the dots on that. They can. But they don't just come out knowing what human urine is. Mm-hmm. So there's this curiosity there. There's this curiosity when they smell a new mammal urine. What is this? And you have to think, urine is everywhere. If you go out to the forest, how many animals that live out there? There's squirrels and mice and rats and groundhogs and coyotes and foxes and raccoons and possums. Guess what, guys? They all pee. Mm-hmm. So if deer, every time they smelled a predator, which humans are a predator to deer, if every single time they smelled a predator in the woods, what would they be doing their whole life?
Well, constantly running.
They'd just be running around
yeah.
like crazy, doing everything. And you have to think, when they smell urine, it's not telling them what's there right now. It's telling them what was there. So if you're walking through the woods and you find bear poop, you know there's bear in the area, but you don't look around and see a bear. So you know there was a bear here, but there's not a bear here right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so deer, they do communicate through their urine. That's why they make scrapes. So they can learn each other through that urine as well, but there's probably this confusion when they smell human urine, like, what is this? I don't really understand. I know it's a mammal. I know it's in a scrape. So they may even try to take that over. They may frequent it. But even if it's just a mock scrape out in front of your stand that's brand new and they've never visited, if they're coming down a trail and it draws their curiosity and holds them for a minute, that may be enough time to present you a shot. So if you are making mock scrapes around your stand, I always recommend doing it in a spot that you can shoot. Whether it's bow or a gun, you can harvest an animal from that scrape. Don't do it someplace that they're going to be held up where you can't take a shot.
So I've got a question. Mm-hmm. You've been talking about, well, because we're in archery season right now, but you also have a time called the rut, and that rut is when the boys are chasing the girls,
right?
And their mind is so wrapped up in that the young boys, the young male deer, are really kind of so stupid that. Mm-hmm. But you were earlier talking about mature deer as well, of really harvesting a mature deer and worried about scent urine with mature deer. But during the rut, are they checking scrapes still and doing all that? Yes, but I'm talking about when you see them running. I mean, they are chasing and chasing. It doesn't really matter about urine at all by your tree, because their heads are down and they are on the trail.
Ben, you're exactly right. So if you own a property or you want to dive in and look at all the research that's available online through all these universities, you have this scrape activity that peaks right at the end through the pre-rut, right up to the rut, and then they go closed. And you'll know they'll be closed because there'll be this huge wide open one that sometimes you'll find one that's 6 feet by 6 feet, multiple deer using this thing, just this big ripped up area. Well, 4 days into the rut, leaves are falling and you walk by this thing and it's half covered in leaves.
Right.
Well, why'd they quit using it? Because exactly what you're saying. They're rut focused now. That's what they're doing. After the rut is over, not to the intensity of the pre-rut, but in the post-rut, you will start to see some of these scrapes open back up.
Yep.
You will start to see some of those same ones open back up. No, that's a really good point. But I really do want people to understand, deer don't just know, they can't just know that it's human pee. I mean, they'd have to follow you around and smell you and learn your pee to know that it's human pee. They don't just know that unless you really are leaving a bunch of human scent behind. And then they're starting to know that. To take that even a step further, when deer are born, they don't even know humans are predators. They have to learn that. That's why a button buck will walk up right to your tree stand and lick the ladder that you just put your bare hand on, and you're not going to have a 5-year-old 10-point walk up and lick your ladder.
Well, humans are the same way. I mean, we don't know smells until we're taught what the smell is.
All behavior is learned.
That's exactly right. So an orange that you're eating for breakfast as a child, as you eat that, you smell that, then you correlate that with the rest of your life, and deer are going through the same process for sure.
Yeah, so deer communicating through urine, and this can actually go for human urine. If a scientist were to collect urine, you can actually tell. It's specific to every single individual for mammals, every single one. So you can actually tell the diet, the age, and the gender, also the health of the individual by analyzing the urine. So deer are able to do that for each other, but really for you, I didn't say species, diet, age, gender, and health. It's hard for them to differentiate species.
Right.
And again, they're able to learn that eventually. If a coyote, if they're standing there, let's say they were able to see a coyote and they watched a coyote pee and the coyote runs off and they go up and smell it, well, now they know they could individualize something from that urine that is coyote. But they had to learn that. They weren't just born knowing what coyote urine smells like.
And to talk about urine, I mean, this may be disgusting to some people listening. I was taught this in my recreation program back in college, and when we would go out as humans, we'd go out and we were recreating, exploring, hiking. We were always told to pee on a tree. So like when someone had to go to the bathroom, the joke was go pee on a tree. But the reason behind that was that as the water would evaporate, it would leave behind what we're going to call salt. And we were always told that animals would go use that salt. Yeah. It was a way to give back to the animals is always the joke. But why I'm sharing that is when hunting, I didn't know what to do either, and so I rarely got down out of the tree stand, but I would actually just right there at the tree that I was at, I would continue that method right there behind me on the tree that I'm at. But I always wondered what impact is that having on my hunting success? Is it causing me any kind of problems? So it sounds like what you're telling me when we're talking about this myth that I'm okay to right there in the tree stand pee on the tree.
Yeah. And the myth really is, if we haven't clearly stated it, is that you shouldn't pee while hunting. And I really believe that you can. And I've been in both camps, and I have not seen a difference. As a matter of fact, I've seen more curiosity in deer and them doing things when I am urinating out of the tree stand than when not. So it almost like it increases a little bit of activity. So they have done studies for this, which the thing about deer and scent is that, and it's kind of a reason for me that deer are so enamoring, is that they seem to kind of be such a simple animal, but we don't know everything about them. We don't truly know how their smell works. We estimate that it's 300 times better than human, but that's an estimation. We think we know that they smell in stratuses, meaning like layers. We used the example in an earlier podcast, like a cheeseburger. We grab the cheeseburger, we smell maybe the cheese, or kind of as a whole, we smell the cheeseburger, but they smell the bread, they smell the mustard, for you the ketchup, they smell the meat, they smell the seasoning on the meat, they smell everything in layers. And a whole nother episode, but there is some research to back that up, but they don't know for sure. However, with any hypothesis, any theory in science, you've got to run some experiments to back that up. So they have done this with human urine. What they've done is they've opened up these mock scrapes. They've put buck urine in some. They put human urine in some. And then they left some completely with nothing, just opened up an area with nothing. Well, what they found was, then they put trail cameras on them to monitor the activity. Awesome tool. The ones that had no urine, they ignored. And then there was no noticeable differences in the frequency, the number of deer, and the age structure of deer that visited the human versus the buck urine. None. Couldn't have told the difference. There was also studies that some included doe urine. See, there was a study that did buck urine, doe urine, human urine, and car scent wafers, like actual smell good wafers, and they actually visited all of them. So it's kind of like they're peaking on this scent curiosity. So it's, oh, there's something new in my environment. I know this environment. What is that? It's new. So they're going there visiting that. The only real difference they found was that the buck and the humans got used a little bit more. So while they visited all of them, the buck and the humans got used even more, even a little bit more than the doe. Which is crazy because what do people go buy and pour out all the time? Take 69, doe urine, doe estrus. That's what people are always pouring out. But even with that being said, if people are using that, it's going to be new to that area. Deer can individualize age, gender, all these things from urine. So I would say that pouring Tink 69, whatever brand it is, there's all kinds. That's just kind of the most common one. If you're putting that into a scrape, I would say that that's either not as good or no different than human peeing into it. Because it's different, and
That's awesome.
There's probably chemicals and preservatives in it too that they could probably smell. So
Bottle, yeah.
Whole lot to dive in there, and there's definitely two camps. I've been in both of them. I hope that I've kind of supported my camp with the little bit of research that's out there. Actually, in the deer world, there's not a ton out there on this, but some of the most prevalent doctors in deer research have provided some of the info that I've shared with you today, and I've lived it and I've seen it, and I hope that makes sense to everybody.
It does. No, it definitely does. When you got to go.
When you got to go. And if it keeps you, even if it just keeps you out there longer, even if you don't want to decide, you know what, I think Brian's right, pee may actually help, or Brian's definitely wrong, I'm going to hold it, or go in a bottle. If just going is going to keep you out there longer, then your odds are going to go up because you're spending more time in the woods.
It's funny because we actually use that example when fishing. You know, if you will never catch a fish if your lure is not in the water.
You got to keep your lure wet.
So you got to stay in the woods to give that chance. Now, I know I'm going to have some people asking, and I know the answer to this, but I want you to share. So we only talked about urine. So, defecating, poo, the number 2. Is there much research on that? Is that even something that we even have any information on in regards to impact or not?
Well, I was going to get personal there for a second, but I'm not going to.
Don't do it.
I don't know that there's a lot of research out there on that. However, what comes out in our poo is what we eat.
Right.
And we also have a lot of cells. We shed blood cells and all kinds of our human cells through our feces. So I would speculate that our feces is a lot more, you would be able to tell it's human a lot more than urine.
It's good. So you may guard against that for sure.
Yeah. You might hold that or get down and go somewhere and then come back.
Make a cat hole and bury it. All right. Sounds
well,
good.
I think that's probably enough about our bathroom habits in the wood. I hope you guys are spending some time outdoors. If you're a hunter, I hope that you are taking time, put the cell phone down, and truly enjoying creation while you're out there. If you need to go to the bathroom, then go to the bathroom. If you love our podcast, we would love the support. Find our link to our Patreon through our link tree. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We like to post videos and pictures about our topics as we're going through our podcast, as well as some of the things that we're out doing and teaching. Definitely, whatever platform you're listening on, download, like our episodes, leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Most of all, we appreciate everybody's support. We hope that between now and the next episode of the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast, you find time to go outdoors. Thank you for listening to the Meant to Be Outdoors podcast, hosted by Brian Hoffmeyer and Ben Brandell. please help us by subscribing. Also, follow along on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook.